Hey everybody, welcome back to Shoe and Show. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode. Fascinated by this week's episode. This is a brand that is re-energized, is doing really well in the market right now, in a tough market. So I'm excited to unpack how that happened and where that journey's heading. Matt, how are you doing today? Good?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing fantastic. I got my run in, so I'm ready for this conversation.
Well, why don't you run with it then, my friend? Go ahead.
I love the puns. There'll be plenty of running puns on this episode. We are excited because we have the Saucony Global Brand President, Rob Griffiths, is here with us on Shoe In. Rob, welcome to the program. And right out of the gate, I know you're from Liverpool. Yes. We want to kind of unpack your shoe story, how you got started in Liverpool, where you went, and then how that's been an inspiration for your journey. So again, welcome to Shoe and Show. We're glad that you're here.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Andy. Really nice to join you guys on the show and appreciate being invited along. Yeah, you're right. I come from Liverpool in the UK. My father played professional football for Everton. In what would now suppose be called the Premier League.
Stop everything.
Yeah.
This is the first guest we ever had with the best story, in my opinion.
Yes, Andy's a big football fan.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good to hear. Yeah, he played. Andy, you probably, looking at you, I don't think you're old enough. I mean, my dad played in the 50s, so I'm assuming that you weren't old enough. But
my cryogenics chamber, it wasn't working at the time. So.
Yeah, he played for the first team a few times, and then carried on his pro career in the lower divisions because they were set. My mum and him were set family in the area, so we were brought up in football, athletic family and home. I carried on and played football as my brothers did. I'm number two of four siblings, so I have an older sister and two younger brothers, and we all played sport. My dad used to take me and my brothers and family on runs. We lived on the coast in Liverpool, so we were right close to a beach, so we were constantly doing beach runs and running to the beach, running back home from the beach. So my life's always been centered around training, activity. I was fortunate enough to play for Liverpool when I was a kid. So I played for Liverpool schoolboys up till the age of 18 and played for England. So I represented my country playing for England, schoolboys. And then got the opportunity to even come over here and play a little bit for Cleveland State University. So did some schooling here, played for Cleveland, and was also track and field as well. So it was a, full on athletic background.
That is unbelievable. I mean, we've had a lot of shoe stories over the 10-year career run of this podcast. None have ever, I think, scratched Andy's itch like that one. I won't tell you his clubs. I don't want to start fights or anything.
I'm curious between Everton and Liverpool. Like, which club do you support? Like, how do you balance that?
Liverpool. All of our families always supported Liverpool. So ironically, my father, as I said, played for Everton, but he was a Liverpool supporter. It does happen.
Yeah.
In Liverpool more so than any other, I would say one of the main places in the UK. I mean, Manchester would probably be the same, but you have this sometimes divided loyalty through families, but football, like running, is always a unifying experience. So yeah, it's always been an interesting one.
Yeah. So tell us how you translated from, your athletic career into footwear in particular.
Yeah.
As you go along that journey where you're at today, like, how do we get to Saucony? Like,
it was, what, Andy, I don't think it would happen again the way it happened for me, because my path was, I felt like I was always sort of fated in a way on the path, because my father was also an agent or a rep in the sports trade. And so when I was at school, he was calling on numerous retailers in the Northwest. That was his patch. And one of those retailers was a young company called JD Sports. And my dad got on really well with John and Dave. And I later found out that Dave played for Man City, and I played against him when I was playing for Liverpool. So I didn't know that at the time, but our paths connected. And John and Dave asked me to literally go from nothing to opening up their 5th store in Liverpool. And so I shared an office with John and Dave and JD back in the day as we were opening this store. And that introduced me into the sports trade. And it was really interesting because I remember the interview, and that's why it wouldn't happen today. But the interview sort of went along the lines of, so have you had any retail experience? No. Okay. So what have you done that, might be of interest to us? Well, played football. Oh, you played football. Right. Tell us about that. Well, I captained my school team, my district team, my county team, Northwest England. Then went on to play for England. I'm at Liverpool, and you've captained that? Yeah, I captained my athletics team as well, my cricket team. They were like, that's good enough. All they were looking for was, in those days, the essence of leadership and somebody that they felt would be able to adapt and develop in leadership roles. And they wanted to hear that, that had been something that was always a part of my life through sport. So it was, like I say, wouldn't have happened today. And then I sort of went from there through, ended up taking on buying roles and sort of cut my teeth in terms of product through buying. And then got the opportunity to transition to run product and marketing actually for LS in the Pentland days. And so I was initially brought in to run the footwear product creation division and production division as well, and then moved on to product apparel for LS, and then moved on to Umbro and did the same thing for Umbro. And so that was just like going back to my roots, working for Umbro, working with the international teams, England teams, the pro teams, developing apparel and footwear. Heavily involved in the production side as well, which was great for me. Did a lot of traveling in the in the Far East and Asia Pacific, and also Europe, producing, spending time on lines, as well as spending time with designers. So it was like a sort of everything that you could imagine that was just thrown in at the deep end. And in those days, you just had to learn. And so I took that with me and decided after I went back to retail for a bit with Esprit, running their menswear division, that I needed to be something more than just product. And so I wanted to hone my skills from a commercial perspective, which I always felt I did whenever I worked on the product side. I was always aware of what was commercial, how to work with buyers, etc. But I needed to sort of prove out to myself and I suppose the industry that I wasn't Rob the product guy. And so I got the opportunity through Wolverine to come on board and run for EMEA a number of brands, the lifestyle brands. So I came in looking at Sperry, Keds, Hush Puppies, Pro Keds, etc. for Wolverine before being asked to run Merrill for the region, which was our big brand. Did that for about 5 years before they asked me to then run the whole region. So I was then managing director over all the brands for Europe, Middle East and Africa. And then I got the call from Chris Hufnagel one day to say, what are your thoughts? We're looking for brand president. Would you ever consider moving to the States? And I don't even think I put the phone down before I was making plans to get over here and get on flights to take over at Saucony, because it's always been a brand that was always very, very close to my heart and something that I always wanted to do. A brand with integrity, history, heritage. I was like, yep, ticks the box. I'm there, So it was a no-brainer, to be honest, Andy, to come over and and take over.
Did not wait to get over here to watch MLS. That's what it was.
That's funny.
Yeah, I got a Peacock subscription straight away.
Of course you did. Let me ask you this, Rob. The Saucony kind of universe of amazing product. You have heritage, you have technology, you have innovation. The Jazz are my favorite kind of street shoe to wear. They're iconic, they're retro, but then I run in the endorphins and there's everything in between, right? The Shadow and just so much great product and heritage. Yeah. How do you balance that as you look to expand the brand globally to where you're ensuring you're providing the retro product while at the same time you don't stop innovating, you move forward with great new product that you drop?
Well, you just mentioned the key word there, innovation. It's we're a 126-year-old brand, and innovation's always been at the center of everything that we've done. And the way we look at it is we innovate, as you say, on the Endorphin series, and that's very, very important to us to work with our athletes and to make sure that we're constantly bringing in benefits and technology that are useful to our elite athletes. But then also, our brand has always been about innovation through not just there, but democratizing innovation, bringing innovation through to what we call our core four, which then is Ride, Guide, Triumph, Hurricane, which allows us to then provide product not just to the athletes but to the everyday runner, which is so important to us. And on the flip side, the other thing that we've got is a back catalogue that people would die for. And so we innovate in terms of bringing back the right kind of product at the right time, relevant product to a lifestyle consumer as well. So that we're able to, it's one of the only brands that I know of that have this opportunity to innovate on performance, but then also innovate in a modern and contemporary way through collabs or through our heritage products. So, some of the products that you mentioned there are super important to the brands. We constantly use the likes of Endorphin Elite to hone what we do at the top, but then we immediately look at ways to bring that through into even our Ride and Guide products so that we're allowing everybody to benefit from some of the innovation that we create at the top. And then, the lifestyle piece is just so exciting, to be able to delve back into credible, authentic product and know that consumers today still feel that that's relevant and cool to wear. There's only a couple of brands that can do that. ASICS would be one of the brands, New Balance and ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite pairs I have and I may be botching some of this, but basically have a Jazz upper. They're blue, but then they have the chunky outsole. Oh, yeah. You can run in them. They look great, but it is that marriage of the two, of the heritage with the technology that you mentioned. Yeah. And it felt retro while also advanced in a weird kind of way, which is, again, one of my favorite pairs that I have.
I mean, the interesting thing is when I sort of took over and we embarked on this next sort of stage of development for the brand, I realized quickly, and we realized quickly, that we had to bring both parts of those businesses together as one. So we did it from a product perspective, and Brian Moore and team have done an incredible job in terms of stewarding the product pipeline. It's never been stronger, Matt. But then also what we had to do was look at it through a consumer lens. Consumer is so important to us that we needed to make sure that what we were doing on the performance side resonated with the lifestyle side. And so whereas some brands will have two consumers, one for lifestyle and one for performance, we brought them together in one and looked at this muse and consumer focus that we call the Move Maker. And that was a game changer for us because it's allowed us to go out with a very consistent messaging, to go out with a very consistent story, and to be fed back from some of the retailers and some of our partners to say, you're one of the only brands that are able to do that. And it was a bold move, but it's one that's really sort of accelerated our relevance in both parts of the business.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the right hand knows what the left hand is doing between performance and lifestyle.
Yeah.
Let's unpack how especially running retail is faring right now. It seems like running is having a moment, as the kids like to say. What's the retail landscape for you guys as you particularly look at specialty running?
Specialty running is the backbone of everything that we've ever done and always will be. For us, that is something that we will always hold dear to our hearts. When you look at specialty running is one where I feel it's nice in the sense that it's still a handshake and it's still looking somebody in the eyes. And I think that a lot of retail and sometimes in sports, we've lost that to some degree. I came from football background, as you said earlier, and when I was working for Umbro, it was all these big retailers, and sometimes you lose that personal connection. Run specialty has always got that personal connection, and I think that that's a strength of the industry. And because of that, community is very important, and so run community is super important to us, as it is to run specialty. And we realized that to be relevant in the modern run community and in the industry, you need to have built those relationships with run crews and run clubs, and that's what we do. Sometimes we partner with our retail friends, and sometimes we do it ourselves. And it's been super important to us to make sure that as we've been reinvigorating and scaling run performance, we've made sure that community is at the center of everything that we do. We recently opened a store in Covent Garden, and it was the first store that we've opened as a brand, and we call it a pioneer store. It's not quite a flagship, but it's a bit special, and I'd love people to go visit it and email me directly, because we're very proud of what we've achieved there. Well, one thing that we did, and for any retailers on the call, they'll be horrified, but that we took a sort of retail space and we devoted it to community. We put lockers in the store so that run crews could leave their gear there, go running, come back to the store, pick up their gear. We put notice boards in there. We have, a barista section, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always that run specialty is always at the center of everything we do. And I do believe that, the smart retailers realize that, and they know that whilst, sometimes they're selling product that's not necessarily used every day for running, it always has to be at the center of everything that they do. And we place a lot of emphasis and importance on communicating directly with them, feet on the ground. Our shadow reps are in stores, talking about the brand, helping their associates understand technology, what the brand's all about. And I'm very confident that, the specialist run business is there to stay.
Matt, I think we need to allocate some money next year to head to London.
Yes. I'll come with you, Andy. We'll go to a football game.
Oh man, this is getting better by the minute.
I live just around the corner for Covent Garden for about a year, so that is a special place to be. Yeah, I did. Right on Drury Lane. Yeah, right off of Great Queen Street, Long Acre, over by the Mason Temple. I lived over there for a bit. Yeah. Nice little posh area. You were talking about this merging the product, in terms of performance and lifestyle. And I have a friend who runs a specialty running store, and he said that over, since COVID, the consumer that he has there has shifted dramatically. It's still the running people coming in and buying the running shoes, but it's equally folks who are looking for comfort in that lifestyle. Yeah. So you talking about merging the two and making sure those connect in the right way, whether you were fortuitous or whether you had that vision and the strategy. It obviously is brilliant, because it is people who are just coming in that may not run, who may be walkers or just want an aesthetic and a better feel to the shoe than something they're going to get at a big box retailer. So I think that's important to talk about of the changing consumer in specialty running is not just running anymore. It is everybody. But tell me, what technology are you guys really talking about to your partners today that's in the market? I don't want to get into anything behind closed doors, but like, what are you really proud of that's in the market technology wise that makes a difference to we're running in Sauconys?
I mean, we spent 2 years developing a foam called Incredurun that we put into our Endorphin Elite product, launched it this year, and it's incredible. Absolutely. I mean, by name and by nature, it's incredible product, incredible foam. And that was something that we put into our lab because we still are old school. We still have testing labs. And so Brian Moore and the product team really worked hard with our technicians to develop this foam and this product, with our athletes so that it performs at the highest level. But what we've been able to do, like I was saying before, is to take elements of that technology and then to start to bring that down, as we do with a lot of our products, into that, what we call core 4, what you're talking about, Andy, that consumer that's looking for comfort first and foremost. They need support. They need, products that work. They need the benefits of a running shoe, but they first and foremost want to feel comfortable because they may want to use that product for various wearing occasions. Sometimes I'll run it, sometimes I'll wear it after run, pre-run. So we spent a lot of time making sure that our core 4 was where we put a lot of effort. And no disrespect to what we were doing before, but we shifted from, I think, like a niche run specialty brand to more of a democratic run lifestyle brand. And what I feel that we were a little bit late to that party. We watched some other brands actually do that before us, and we were the original US running brand, sort of watching things happen and realized that we needed to make sure that that was something that we focused on. So we did, and it's worked super well. And, you mentioned then the timing. I was very lucky that I came around a couple of years ago and inherited a very, very strong team that were already thinking that way. All I had to do was focus that team and guide that team a little bit. Were the moments where we had to make some tough decisions? Yes, there were. But I was very lucky that the team that was already here, some of those guys, we talk about shoes in lifestyle. I've got, guys there that actually designed that shoe 25 years ago and are still here designing Elite. They're still at the forefront of design and technology, yet they were the ones that were, looking back almost sort of like in a nostalgic way saying, I remember when I designed that. I mean, Brian Moore even designed one of the shoes as well that we brought back. So, we're lucky that culture is so important to this brand. And
does he get double pay for that? Does he get double pay? Does he get back pay for that?
He asked Andy, but he didn't get very far.
You have tough decisions, right? I mean, I remember the Endorphin Elite 2s. They are so light. They are the lightest thing. When I was with you and over the summer, I was wearing them. And, they're phenomenally light. They have the foam that you mentioned in them, and it blows me away just how high performance they are and so light they are.
So one of the things leading from that, and we're launching it in early 2026 is part of the Azora, part of the Endorphin range. It's Endorphin Azora, which takes all those benefits you were talking about, Matt, in a super shoe, but removes the plate. And so you actually get a shoe that you can train in on a regular basis. So, you're bringing all the benefits of the technology, all the geometry that we've learned through the athletes and through the top shoes. And then we're bringing it down to, a price point that, can then benefit an everyday runner. And of course we use for training. So, that's super exciting moving forward.
That is exciting. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for Saucony globally, Rob? I mean, you seem to be conquering the U.S. market, and I've been to the Wolverine events in Asia, and I've seen where you've taken over different marathons globally.
Yes.
I want to say in Korea, maybe, or Japan.
Right. Yeah.
Where's kind of your biggest growth opportunities outside the four walls of the U.S., if you will?
So we started on a key city initiative in 2025, and London was our first key city, and so we opened the store in Covent Garden. We sponsored the London 10K, the Shoreditch 10K, etc. And we surrounded those events with activities and spoke to that move-maker consumer that we were referencing earlier. And we've seen dramatic growth there. We're also focusing on Paris. We're doing the same thing with Paris. We have a pioneer store in Tokyo, doing the same thing in Tokyo. We will continue that key city approach, because what it allows us to do is to really focus efforts and focus attention and cut through in certain areas, and then let that provide that halo effect for the rest of the country and then the rest of the market. So EMEA is doing very well for us. Also in APAC, we have a good partner in China, Xstep, who we work with in China, and they're growing their footprint dramatically as well. So we've got some good growth spots outside of the US. And it's interesting as well, Matt, but again, it's performance and lifestyle. So our credentials and our notoriety is around performance, and we'll always hold that dear, and we'll always continue to grow that. But it's nice to also see us speaking to a new consumer as well, as we push the brand outside of the US.
You talked a lot about leadership through your kind of, your athletic career, but even into your career in footwear and apparel. I wonder, as you look at where you're at today, like what for leadership qualities and traits, and I want you to specifically speak to people who may be coming into the industry or starting off. What should people think about as they start their career in footwear, or even maybe they've been doing it for a while, they're mid-tier and they want to take it to the next level? What are some leadership qualities you think really matter in the footwear space?
I always think about belief, and sometimes people think of belief as arrogance and overconfidence. It's not. I think belief in yourself and belief and trust in your team and people around you sounds a bit cliche, but it is so important. What we've achieved here is not down to one single person. It's down to a combination of people, of some of the decisions that we've taken, but in the belief in the brand, belief in people, belief in teams. Sometimes knowing when to have each other's backs, when to support one another. And then the big thing, you asked about people coming through and looking at that next stage and then next development. I can only use my own experience. And there were times, Andy, when I think we've all done it. We look at our own career and we think, I'm stagnating. I've been doing this for too long. I think I'm capable of doing more. And I think sometimes people fall into the trap of then focusing on what's next and not what's happening now. And if you focus too much on what's next, you won't be doing a good job on the job that you've got now. And, you need to have confidence and belief that the people around you will recognize that and will see that you're doing an amazing job in the area that you're doing and you're capable of doing something else. And so my advice is don't focus on the next one. Have an eye to what could be next, but really ensure that you're delivering in the job that you're doing at the moment and do it to the best of your ability. I use my dad a lot. I spoke to my dad the other night, and he was, he's at a different stage of life now, and sometimes he doesn't quite appreciate what's going on. And I was having to tell him how well the brand was doing and how well the business was doing. And I always say, you sort of taught me that, you're only as good as your last game, and you always had to keep going and keep striving. And you sort of laughed. And I said, I always remember you telling me off for not doing the dishes properly, and it resonates with me. If you're going to do a job properly, you're going to do a job well, do it properly, and that's something that I've always, held with me. And maybe not a bad thing. It's maybe an old fashioned way to think about things, but, do that job properly and people will see what you're doing.
Yeah, I like that.
I love that.
Matt, we got any extra for Rob?
Yeah, well, last question for Rob. This is kind of a doozy, but hey, look, you're stuck on a deserted island. You can pick the island, and you have to wear one pair of shoes the rest of your life. And that's it. Like, you're on Lost, and the black smoke's there, and they're never coming to find you. What pair of shoes do you bring with you, Rob, and why?
That's a great question. I suppose there's roads as well as sand on this desert island, right?
What? Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Whatever you want.
I've just added a layer of complication to your question. You're like, shit, no one's ever asked me that before. I would probably say that Hurricane would have to be the shoe because it's our ultimate comfort shoe. So, you spoke before, Andy, about being comfortable. As I get older, and I'll be getting old on this desert island, I'm going to need some comfort, not just in my runs, but while I'm foraging and looking for berries, I'm going to need to make sure that I'm wearing a pair of Hurricanes. They get me there quickly.
Well, let's hope that it doesn't. Let's hope that those shoes don't beckon a hurricane to come and blow you off the island, right?
Yeah,
then it's
that's true. Yeah.
Well, Rob, if you're going to forage, you got to make sure you forage well, my friend. I mean, that is the goal. That's the mantra.
And wash the dishes when you're done.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, thank you.
Rob, we really appreciate you coming on today and hearing about your story and your background. Yeah. And we hope other people kind of hear this. And the fun thing about this show is everybody kind of connects in different ways to people's stories, but there's consistency in our industry about how hard people work. And you talked a lot about connecting with people and consumers. And I think that is something that is really special about our industry still. But really appreciate, again, you coming on and excited to see what's next with Saucony. You guys keep coming out with new products and ideas and executing the strategy really well. And looking forward to seeing Covent Garden when my boss gives me some budget to fly to London, so we can.
I'll be there in May, so we can scout it out together.
Yeah, well, let me know because I'll come over. I'll buy you guys a beer.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Wow. Yeah. I love a good landlord, Timothy Taylor. I don't know if you've got a preference, but that's.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah, no, I'm all about Michigan craft ale now. I don't.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm like assimilating.
Exactly.
You really are.
He still has his Peacock subscription, but he's drinking the local beer.
Yeah, local beer. Yeah. No, thank you very much for the invitation. You guys do an amazing job, and it's good that you're keeping this industry together and giving people this portal to learn more about the industry. So we really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to have an interesting and enjoyable conversation with you.
Yeah, well, thank you for the time today. And as always, folks, shoeandshow.com is our full catalog of over 500 shows now. Wow. You can go back and download a ton of just really interesting conversations we have with other leaders in the industry. And I think there's still really important lessons that we can all learn. Even if it's several years ago, we try to talk about leadership and not just marketplace things, but, how we get through tough times, kind of how we are currently in these kind of high tariff weird consumer environments. But we appreciate you as always listening. Every Monday, a new episode drops. So we hope you will join us each week. And until next time, on behalf of Team FDRA, Shoe-In is out.
Shoe-In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.